Hi, everybody. It's Nannette Kennedy, looking washed out because I'm in front of a window. Sorry about that. Today is June 20th, 2021. And here in the United States, and I don't know if it's in other places as well, it's Father's Day. And so happy Father's Day to all the fathers. And we are reading The Only Thing That Matters by Neale Walsch. And Lynda, would you like to get us started?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, I was just trying to convert whatever 51 degrees is to Celsius, but I didn't have a lot of luck.
That's cool.
That's what it is here.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so we are reading The Only Thing That Matters, Conversations with Humanity, Book 2. We look to be on page 38, as we stopped mid-chapter. So
is
there's
it chapter 8?
I'll have to back up to figure that out. Hang on. Yes, it's chapter 8.
Okay.
Okay. All right, here we go.
I was gonna say, why don't you back up just a couple paragraphs so we can have time to find where you are.
Okay. So where we stopped was right after the little tilde mark or whatever that is. So I'll start on page 38.
Okay.
What most people have never been told is that the essential energy of which your body and mind are composed also never ceases to exist. Although unlike your soul, they change form. Your body and your mind could thus be called shapeshifters. They can and do change shape or form throughout eternity. They do this at the behest of the soul, which uses the essential energy that forms the body and the mind as its tools. Think of a man who hammers out a new shape from white hot steel, which is malleable and can be poured until it cools and hardens. The energy that forms the body and the mind is likewise malleable when it is white hot, or in the language of metaphysics, when it shines brightly with the light of essential energy emits in its essential state. The shape of the body and mind are altered when the oscillation of their energy vibration changes frequency, which it does when their energy moves into the physical realm. Certain frequencies of this energy vibration can make all or part of the body invisible to humans. The mind, not to be confused with the brain, which is a part of the body, is an example. It is invisible, but not undetectable. It is the energy package that animates the brain. Yet while neither mind nor body are seen following what is called death, the body usually having been buried or cremated, the mind simply having disappeared, this does not mean they do not exist. The body certainly exists, might you reason, either in a slowly changing form as a deteriorating corpse, or in the form of ashes that are more quickly absorbed by the rest of the physical world. We think that this is the whole of the body, all there is left of what once was. We say that the body has been reduced to this. Yet it turns out that this is only the residue. In reality, a person's remains are literally and simply that, what remains in visible form. This is the least of the energy components that comprise your physical being. It is merely the part of your physical energy that continues to vibrate within a frequency range that allows the energy to be visible. The largest portion of your physical energy shifts its vibration at the moment that you call death, rendering it invisible to the naked eye. Even now, before death, there are parts of you that are invisible. There are some humans who are reportedly able to view what are popularly called auras, which they describe as energy fields that surround the body. They actually are part of the body and are but one example of the body having parts that are not usually visible. Hang on a second, let me deal with the dog.
Sorry, I'm late. Can you tell me what chapter we are reading?
We're towards the end of chapter 8. We are on page 39.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Mary. At death, your body and your mind immediately begin to transmorgify. To understand this process a little more fully, consider a burning log in your fireplace. Most of the energy that was the log becomes invisible as it is released. It turns into at least 3 new energy forms that can be easily identified: light, heat, and smoke. Following this morgification, a residue remains. We call this residue ashes. It is clear to all that the ashes are but 5% of what was once a much larger physical object. What happened to the rest of the log? Can it be said that its energy is dead? No, no energy ever dies. Energy simply changes form. The rest of the log went up in smoke, or the heat or became the heat and light of the fire. Your own body and your mind transmorgify in the same way. As the largest portion of the essential energy that was your body and your mind changes form, continuing to exist as part of the totality of you, the tiniest portion of residue remains. A soul knowing. No energy ever dies. Energy simply changes form. This is the portion of the totality of you that you have chosen to leave behind. It continues to exist also, but not interdimensionally. You no longer wish to carry it with you. You're done with it. You're finished with that aspect of yourself. So you leave it in this particular dimension of always, everywhere. What goes with you is what serves the soul. This aspect of your body and mind later reconstructs itself at the instruction of the soul. It may reconstruct itself in the present expression and dimension, returning you to this life to live over again in a new way, or it may reconstruct itself in another expression and dimension to live in a different life as a different person, becoming what you call reincarnated. Throughout all of this, the soul's identity has not been and will never be changed. Only the essential energy of the body and mind can be reassembled in a new version of life expression. End of chapter.
Thank you, Lynda. That's a heck of a word, transmorgification.
Isn't it?
Transmogrification. That's the word.
Is that really a word?
Yes. Transmogrify. It's the GR, not the RG. And it is a real word, but it is fairly obscure nowadays, huh?
I'm gonna look it up real quick. Because I'm a wordsmith and I really want to know exactly what that means.
To change or alter greatly and often with grotesque or humorous effect. It's an intransitive verb, to become transmogrified.
Well, thank you. You beat me to it. Okay, does anybody want to start the conversation or have anything to say about what we just read?
I just think it's interesting and something that most people don't think about. Like a lot of people, not probably the people in this circle, but a lot of people in life think the physical is all that exists, and when your body dies, that's it, or whatever. Anyhow, it's just interesting because most people don't look at the energy aspect of, E=mc² energy is neither destroyed nor created. It just changes form, right? Anyhow, that's all. I think it's interesting. That's not much of a contribution.
It's a contribution.
Did you want to say something, Romy? You look like maybe you did.
You're muted.
You're on mute.
Thanks. Yeah, okay. Not much, Mary, but still, as you ask, I just think if we always would be aware of that our lives are not going to end by the physical death, then we would have another world, and then we would even, I think there are many people, they don't even think of these concepts or whatever, but even all those people who are aware of these concepts, they are not always aware when they are acting throughout the day and fighting and whatever in everyday life. And it's funny because tonight before I had one of my Power of 8 groups, we talked about how to stabilize the awareness that it's not always that we not always fall on to fall out of, I use the word falling out of grace, yeah. And so we just said, okay, every hours when we're awake, when the clock is moving from the full hour to the first minute, we devote this minute to remember us. Yeah, and I think I once have done it by the beginning of the Corona time and with colleagues together, and then I forget about it, but now I think I'm going to install it again. It's a good one. Because after 1 week, it's absolutely inside and it's absolutely helpful being outside and then seeing a clock and being just trying to argue and seeing the clock, then it just makes, hey, stop, wait a minute. It's just a good one. I like it. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you for sharing that. It's a really good one just to help us stay conscious, stay in awareness. The other thing I wanted to say is the thing I've been thinking about lately is this concept of planting seeds, like planting trees whose fruit I won't be here to see. That's a way to keep the actions in line with the world we want to create instead of the world that is around us at this moment sometimes. Over.
I love that, Mary. And it's not the first time I've heard anybody say it, but I'm really glad you brought it up. about planning. And there's a beautiful quote that I cannot remember off the top of my head, but it has something to do with plant a tree that you know you will never see. And I just think that's an awesome thing, is to do something for our future, and especially with the state of the world, with our climate issues. I think it's something we can leave to our children and our grandchildren, to let them know we do care. We did care. Over.
So I just wanted to say that I've never really thought of it the way he described it in this chapter, but it makes a lot of sense given my personal experience of life. So for those of you that are new and don't know, haven't heard this story, I was born awake. Like, I remember from before I was in my mother. And then I remember everything while I was in my mother. And then I remember being born. And I remember, like, I don't have a day-to-day memory of every day after that. But what I remember about before I got to my mother was conversations about coming into form again. And I didn't want to, like, been here, done that, I'm not going back. And I had a lot of resistance to coming back into form. And it was only when another being said that they would come with me that I finally agreed. So I don't want to tell the whole big long story, but this chapter helps to validify my experience, right? A lot of times I share my experience and people just think I'm crazy. So, so I appreciate this chapter because it really kind of puts into context, for me, maybe how a little parts of the whole thing work. I mean, I have my own idea about how it all works, but it's nice to have some external validation. Over.
Good point.
Lynda, as I understood, you didn't like to born here on Earth.
Right. I didn't want to come. I didn't want to come. But there's something either I'm supposed to do, or maybe I've done it already. I don't know. But there was a reason that I was being asked. So, you know, I think the thing that really makes that this chapter crystallizes for me is the idea that that we are individuated aspects of divinity with specific personalities and traits, right? And so I think that I think that for me, what it tells me is that I've always been this entity, right? I've had other lives I'm aware of, or I have other lives because it's congruent, right? There's no such thing as time in the real grand scheme of things. So the idea of reincarnation is not really what's happening. It's like a co-creation in another realm, right? Where all these lives are happening. That's why when you heal something in this lifetime, you heal it in yourself across all lifetimes. That's why it works that way, because we really are the same entity in the different lifetimes that we're having, if that made any sense. You start to talk about this stuff, you know, in very specific ways, and you end up feeling crazy, right? Because the world doesn't think this way, and yet this is what's happening. Over.
Yes, I would like to ask, do we change personalities or not? Or
My
we
sense
have,
is we don't. My sense from my experience and from even what we get in this chapter is no, I don't think our personalities change. Our personalities are the personality of divinity in expressing in us.
Mhm.
And I don't think it changes. How could it if the rest of it doesn't die, right? If nothing really is dying here, then the personality wouldn't die either.
But the expressions change.
Right, the
This
expressions
is the
change.
thing.
Yeah,
So like, you know, I believe, yeah, I may have had this personality all those times, but the aspects of that personality that I chose to express in different lifetimes are very different, you know.
right.
I wasn't always Miss Love and Light.
Well, it comes, so let's go back to the inception of why we're doing this in the first place, right? And what I know from my personal experience of coming into this lifetime is that we initially came into this form to do what is called experience heaven on earth, right? So creation, divinity, whatever you want to call it, created this beautiful planet and created a whole bunch of other planets too. And they're all beautiful in their own way. But this one is really, as we know, quite specifically unique with water and snow and mountains and weather and all this stuff, right? And all these different animals. So then it's like, all right, let's experience that ourselves. You know, we made all this stuff, we made all the animals, let's make a being that we want to live in to experience all this stuff we created. And somewhere along the line, as we began doing that and populating the planet with these beings, these aspects of ourselves, we kind of forgot what we were here for. And that's really, like, I think that's just the bottom line. We are now surrounded by many, many people who have completely forgotten why they came here in the first place, to experience heaven on earth. And so we're still on that mission. And those of us that are awake to it now are the ones that are trying to be the way showers for the rest. Over.
Romy?
Lynda, you just say that you are aware that you had gone through several lives.
Mhm.
Do you also feel that you have access of the abilities or whatever you had in these lifetimes?
Oh, do I have access to the abilities from those other lifetimes?
Yeah.
So I think the answer to your question is yes, although I'm not consciously aware that I have some talent in this lifetime that I got from some other lifetime or some ability. I'm not consciously aware of that, but because of the way I believe time is working, I think it's the case that if you're a great cook in some other lifetime, you're going to be, you could be a great cook in this lifetime as well, right? Because I don't think that there's really any separation.
Okay, thanks. Over.
Mary?
I would like to address this a little because my brother Mark is the only other person or first person besides Lynda who I knew who like remembers being born and stuff like that. And he has abilities from other lifetimes. Like he came home from work one day and started binding a book, which he had never done in this lifetime. But it's like he suddenly remembered that he had been a bookbinder in some other life. And I call him a Renaissance man. He's incredibly talented. And he also actually is a really good cook. But he does all kind of sort of fascinating things like make ink, make paper, writes incredible stories, herbalism, I mean, anything. So anyway, just my little answer to that is some people certainly can be, you know, I think yes, and my brother is aware of that. He's consciously aware that he did these things in another life. So
yeah, I have a hobby. I don't do it lately, but when I picked up the hobby of stained glass making, I think that is one of those gifts from another life, because it just was easy and intuitive to me. Like it's like I felt like I was doing something I'd always known how to do, even though I knew I didn't in this lifetime ever know how to do it before I started doing it. So yeah, I don't have the remembrance of it, but like Mary's brother, but yeah. Because I think we're the whole, you know, when in each version that comes forward, it's the whole package of every experience that the soul has had up until that moment. You bring it with you. You can't leave it behind.
I am thinking, may I say something? I'm thinking about if we could understand all people in the world, do we have to pass all the experiences or not? Do we all pass all experiences or only certain experiences? How can we understand others if we don't have this experience over?
It's a great question.
It is a great question.
I'm not sure I know the answer to this question.
Yeah, I'm thinking on it.
I don't know that the answer is actually knowable with the mind. My feeling on it is, I mean, I did this sort of past life regression meditation one time with this CD I got with this book. And the idea is you go into the hall with all these mirrors and there are people looking into the mirror and you have been all those people. That's the idea. And my hall had a heck of a lot of people in there with a heck of a lot of different experiences. And that's why I say I haven't always been Miss Mary Love and Light over here, because I looked at those people in that hallway and I went, oh, I'm not jumping into that body because I lived it once and I really don't need to go into those feelings again of, you know, when people, like when horrible dictator people get caught and then sometimes killed, I always have an extreme amount of empathy for them. And I think it's because I've done some horrible things in some other lives, you know. I feel that that's pretty clear to me. And I'm sort of okay with that because I learned that that's not who I want to be in this life, you know. So I don't know whether you have to experience everything between all your lives, but I know that if you keep going around the wheel a lot, you're probably going to experience a lot of things. That's all. That's my take.
Yeah, and I think just to clarify too, I think that the struggle that we have in this physical realm is this non-understanding of the housing that we inhabit, right? Our bodies are our housing while we're here. And our bodies have their own needs, desires, and fears, right? The housing has its own agenda. And that's really, I think, where the disconnect has come from from the very beginning, is that as souls and spirits inhabiting the housing, if you don't realize, for example, that the housing has an ego and that ego is going to influence how you behave, perhaps not in ways you want, right? But we're not taught that. Human beings are not teaching that to other human beings, and we're not teaching it to children. And so until we start teaching the children the difference between the spirit and the soul that's inhabiting the housing, and the fact that the housing has needs that you have to tend to, but that the housing can also take over when it wants to if you let it. And maybe you don't want to let it, right? Like maybe you want to stay more awake and aware that you're inhabiting this thing as opposed to it running you. So what we have now on planet Earth, from what I can see, is we have, you know, the mass population of housing inhabited by souls that they don't have a clue. They don't have a clue that that's what's going on. And so when their ego, their wired ego wants to run away from something that they're trying to face, and they let it run away, and then they never deal with it, and they live their whole lives with something that they didn't want to face because whatever, this is where that saying, you're going to have to come back and do it again, comes from. Because we don't, it's like, at least in my experience, and I can't imagine it would be any different for anybody else that's here, we have a purpose. We had a choice. We made a choice to come. And we made a choice to come because there was something we wanted to either experience or do or whatever, right? And the minute we get here, because of the density of the energy, because of the way everybody else is, and nobody's telling all these little children, you know, nobody's exploring with the little children, what do you think your purpose is, right? Because that's when we remember, when we're little still, that's when we would be remembering it. And we're not doing that with children. We're not exploring with children why they came and what their interests are. Most people are molding the children to be their little mini me's and, you know, look like me and act like me and do what I do. So we're just in this big mass of having forgotten, right? Over.
Can I share an aspect of this?
Yes.
Yeah, and that is very different from what you have talked about. Because as I had this experience as a child of an inner energy, and today I know it is what is called a Kundalini energy, which is a source of life inside us. And when all the chakras are connected, so what I have been shown from the inner is when I look at something, somebody, or have a question about how can a person do that, I can see it from inside. I can see the program. And when that program is going on like a machinery, persons behave up to that program. So I can understand it. And if it's from earlier life or whatever, I don't know, because as this caveman in Himalaya said to me, you were born with it. You had it from you were born. I don't know. But I can see and understand the mechanism. I see what is happening in the brain and in the mechanism. And that is because the chakras has opened and connected by this Kundalini energy. So that's, as long as we are not getting completely connected to the source and on all energy levels, it will happen. And we can judge it or see it. But I mean, it's when you take a drug and a person take a drug, what happens there? I have been shown it. I haven't taken a drug, but that was a heroinist. He said to me, he had been a heroinist, you can explain a heroin experience better than a heroinist can do. How is that possible? I've never taken it. So I see that when this energy wakens up for completely human beings, I will not say that I'm perfect in it, but I have no other way to go but listening to this inner guidance and see what is showed me. And then I understand and I can say, I can see it. And it's of course, I would like to change the whole humanity to see it, but it's not possible. It's too big work. But to see from there, there is no judgments. that is just, And when I was in India last year, I was shown, it said, I was in a meditation on that we are here in this way because we have to learn what it means when we identify with the body instead of the source of life. Because when we identify in this separation, it is what's happening on the planet. But when we wake up from that, then something new starts. And that is oneness for me. That's how I came into this oneness network. Yeah, that was just some reflections. I don't know if you understand what I say, but that's
Yes,
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
yes.
my deepest guidance, which is my gift. I say the Kundalini is my guide, whatever we call it, but it helps me all the time to see from another perspective. And it's unbelievable. It's a little bit tough to be in that because I want to share it with somebody else. And it's not always possible. There are some people, but most people want to learn more from me. But I would love to have some close friends in the same vibration. So if anyone of you are there, please say that. So thank you.
Yeah,
Over.
well, the breath is what's animating the body, right? And divinity is residing in the breath. That's what ties it back to everything that you were saying. Yeah. Thank you, Bima.
Go ahead, Romy.
How are you called? Bima?
Yes.
Okay. Right now, do you, because it's a beautiful gift and you don't share it with a group of people, or I mean, you do it for work, or?
No, there are people who knows about me, and I have been out in the world, and I have been in Canada at a Kundalini conference and lectured, and I have been down in India and so on. But and in Europe also, different. I was invited to do that. So when somebody invites me to share it, I do it. But I'm not promoting myself because I don't want to be a guru or something famous for this. But I have helped a lot of people with Kundalini imbalances and critical situations because I can balance it up in a peaceful way.
Okay, thanks a lot.
So I do
Yeah.
it also over the internet. I can do it.
I send you my connection, yeah.
Okay, so I mean, if somebody wants to connect with me and want to know about it, it's
Yeah, it
possible.
very much resonates for me, and yeah, I would love to hear more of it because I think it's very helpful. Yeah, it just resonates with me right now. Thanks. Over.
What I can do, I write my email there, and so anyone who wants to connect to me about it can do that. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You
So
guys,
yeah,
when I send out the recordings, all of your email addresses are available to
Oh, yeah.
everybody on that. So,
Okay. Thanks.
and if I think that somebody's going to mind if their personality tells me that they don't want their email address, then I blind copy them. But I've only had that happen once. So, one of the things I was going to say, I did a past life regression. Oh my God, probably 25 years ago. And which blows me away. I just turned 65 last week. And so it seems like a long time ago. But I did this past life regression where it was so unbelievable. I went to the Renaissance period and I was there, and I remember my feet being bare and dirty. I was not dressed, I was dressed poorly. And I was always trying to find this woman. And I finally found her in this past life regression. I didn't say anything to her, but it was my mother. And she was was of royalty. And I remember thinking, how can somebody not want their own child? And, I was 40 when I did this past life regression. So I'm old enough to be able to think these things through. But I just remember thinking, that's really bizarre. And then after I came out of the past life regression, I think about how much in this lifetime I am still drawn to things in the Renaissance period, whether it's festivals or the music or the movies or the books, whatever they are, I'm very drawn to that period. And in this lifetime, my mother adored me. She adored me, and I was her firstborn. And I, because of the past life regression, I just felt like, and this is going to sound trite, and I don't mean it to sound that way, but she was making up for it, because I would choose her again and again and again, because she was such a marvelous woman. So I was trying to make a point to connect it to something else, but I'm back in the Renaissance period. Over. Anybody else? We've only got about 10 minutes. Should we, how long is the next chapter, Lynda?
Let me look.
I can't get my, oh, there's my Kindle.
We might get through it. It's not that long.
Okay, well, why don't we go ahead and do that?
Okay. Of snowflakes and trees. It is difficult for some people to get their mind around what you have just remembered. This is surely why Jesus and so many other masters choose to share some eternal mysteries through parables and stories. We are going to do the same, we're going to do the same thing here. Again, this is not because the human mind is so weak on underdeveloped. It is because the mind has been given so much misinformation that there is virtually no room for vast, new, additional content until something has been deleted. What you are now being invited to do is delete much of your old story about life and how it is, death and what it is, and God and who it is, to make room for a new story. Here is a parable to help in the conceiving of that new story. The parable of the snowflake. Once upon a time, there was a snowflake. Its name was Sarah. Sarah the snowflake had a brother named Sam the snowflake. Sarah and Sam both lived a good life, but they feared for the day that they would die, melting away into nothingness. Then one day the snow angel appeared to both of them. A snowflake is eternal, did you know that? The angel said, and then the angel explained. The very first snowflakes in history of the world are the snowflakes that are falling today. They fall from the sky as highly individualized physicalizations. There are no two snowflakes alike. There never have been in all the history of snowflakes. The flakes are so awesomely beautiful in their individual design, no one who watches them falling from the heavens can fail to see their exquisite splendor. People run outside when snowflakes fall, beholding their breathtaking magnificence. As they land, they merge with one another. People call a huge collection of them on the ground simply snow. They don't say, look at that big pile of snowflakes. They say, look at that mountain of snow. They see all the individualized snowflakes as one. And indeed, the snowflakes are one with one another. The angel went on. Soon the sun comes out and the snow melts, each flake disappearing one by one. They don't, of course, disappear at all. They simply change form. Now they are water rippling together in a sparkling puddle or flowing together in a little stream. The sun continues to work its magic, and soon the water itself disappears, or seems to. Actually, it too simply changes form. It evaporates, rising into the air as invisible vapors and gathering there in such consternation as they are visible again as clouds. Okay, let me deal with the dog. Hang on. All right, I don't know what to do, so let me just keep reading. He's not going to get up here. As more and more of the vapors gather, the clouds become heavy with their moisture. Soon, once again, the moisture falls, raining down upon the earth. And if the temperature is just right, falling rain turns into snowflakes again. No two snowflakes are alike. Ever in the history of snowflakes. Sarah and Sam were never so happy in their entire lives. Suddenly, everything that was what you might call crystal clear. And so in the snow, we see the cycle of life and the story of you. There was never a time when you were not. There will never be a time when you will not be. You appear from the heavens physicalized as individual aspects of all that is. While each physicalization is absolutely and gloriously non-identical, they are nevertheless all the same thing. And so they merge into a single essence, a particular life expression that you call humans. Then to the heavens, each essence returns, once more invisibilized. You are not no longer here, you are simply no longer visible. Yet you exist, fully self-conscious and fully aware, self-aware, until you return again to total visibility through full physicalization. And here is a great secret. You are never not physical. You are sometimes simply less physical. Even as a snowflake is never not physical, when it is snow, it is physical. When it is water, it is physical. When it is steam, it is physical. When it is vapor, it is physical. When it is moisture, it is physical. When it is unseen and utterly invisible, it is physical. When it falls from the clouds as rain, it is physical. And when it hits the freezing temperature beneath the sunlit clouds, it crystallizes, becoming a snowflake once again. What a journey the snowflake has taken, changing form, evermore changing form, finally returning as another snowflake, magnificently different from its earlier version, but still, in essence, the same. And what a journey you have taken. It is a sacred journey with a divine purpose. The fact that the body and the mind remain with the soul is evidenced in the testimony, and those testimonies now number in the thousands of people who have had what are called NDEs, or near-death experiences. These people often report that their mind was fully aware of everything that was going on when they crossed over to the other side. In some cases, they even tell of experiencing themselves in their own body in its highest state of good health. But the body isn't heavy as a snowflake falling to earth. It is light as vapor, as a snowflake not yet crystallized. Many also report seeing and being greeted by loved ones who have gone before, and that these loved ones too appeared in their own bodies at the height of their health, each body as light as vapor. What is being said here is that all expressions of physical life have the ability to transmogrify, thank you, Mary, and all life on earth does so. Impossible, you say, but is it? It's no use, cried Alice. One can't believe impossible things. I dare say you haven't even enough practice, replied the White Queen. I always did it for half an hour a day. Why, sometimes I've believed 6 impossible things before breakfast. That's from Through the Looking Glass, chapter 5 by Lewis Carroll. Still, it is hard to imagine that life goes on forever, as in forever and ever, and even forevermore. The mind searches for ways to comprehend it, given that there are no examples around us. Or are there? The truth of trees. If you sit at your window for many, many years and just watch the trees outside your house, you would see that the tree never dies, but simply changes form. You might say yes, but it began somewhere. It began with a seed. Yet where did the seed come from? From another tree, you might say. Well, what if the truth is it's the same tree? Imagine a tree growing from a seed. The tree grows and grows and grows until one day, perhaps hundreds of years on, it stops growing and it does the thing that you call die. Yet it has not died. It has simply undergone a process, which includes creating seeds, which in turn have sprouted new trees. But are they really new trees, or merely the same old tree starting over? When a tree reaches the grandest height that it's going to reach in its present form, it drops itself onto the ground. That is, it ultimately falls over. Yet the seed that it earlier dropped is not something else. It's a part of the tree. Just as a drop of the ocean is a part of the ocean, we are simply giving names, different names, to the same thing in different forms. When the tree drops a seed, it is dropping itself onto the ground. It then plants itself into the ground and then experiences itself growing all over again in what appears to be another body. Yet it is the same body, having gotten smaller and then bigger, having transmogrified. You can even cause a tree or a plant to do this in mid-cycle by taking a mere clipping from the tree and putting it into water, where it will sprout new roots, allowing it to be planted into the ground. Now, is this another tree? Or miracle of miracles, is it the same tree, a part of which has been snipped off and replanted? Where does one tree end and the other tree begin? Because they are physically separated, does that mean they are not the exact same essence? In our limited human understanding, we have equated physical separation with essential differentiation. But what if there are no differences at the level of essence? There are not, and this is what is meant by eternal life. It has been built into every form of life that exists, from stars and planets to entire solar systems, yea, to entire universes, from people and snowflakes and trees to entire ecosystems and everything in them. Each aspect of life experiences the fact of its own eternal existence and its own energy essence in accordance with its own level of consciousness. What is this essence that transfers from one snowflake to the next, from one tree to the next, from one solar system to the next, from one physicalization to the next, from one lifetime to the next? It is the only thing there is, continually transmogrifying. It is divinity, invisible, but made invisibly, individually visible over and over again through the expression of what we call life itself. It is the single soul reborn. It is the one thing multiplied. It is God reshaped. It was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. It is you. End of chapter.
Couldn't get myself off mute.
I saw that.
I can't do it. That was an amazing chapter for me. It was almost, no, I'm not going to say almost, it was poetic. And it was just beautifully written. And I wish we had a lot more time today to talk more about it. What I might suggest is that over the next week, if you have time, reread the chapter so that we can have a deeper conversation about what we just read. Over. Anybody else have thoughts on that?
I could read it again at the beginning next time too, if you want.
Okay. Well, our time has come to a close, but I'm going to have Mary do a very brief closing here. Take it away.
Thank you to the universe, source, for bringing us all together, each little individual aspects of the oneness, each being our own little snowflake here to create the beautiful whole of this world. And as we go about our week this week, maybe we will remember that the point of this all is heaven on earth. What a lovely idea. And we can use the idea Romy brought up of just remembering, like for 1 minute at the top of the hour, to connect to our spirit instead of being lost in the dream of these physical bodies, which is so easy to do. And remember our unity with each other and with the whole as we go about our week this week. Thank you all for being here and contributing to this beautiful little tapestry of this group. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mary. That was very nice. It was beautiful.
Thank you, Mary. And thank you, all of you.
Yep. Thanks,
you,
everybody.
Beautiful week.
And
Thank you.
thank you, Lynda, for
Thank you very
reading.
much. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you, Mary.
I look forward to seeing you all next week. And Sarah Summerson tried to get on and I let her in, but she disappeared.
Oh,
But anyway, I love you all and I'll see you next week. And I hope everybody has a very blessed week.
Thank you.
Over.
You all.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
That's right. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Thank you. Bye.